Mr. Chancellor, Mr. Vice Chancellor, the academic staff of this great university, graduates, students, parents, and ladies and gentlemen, I acknowledge with a sense of great appreciation the introductory remarks made about me by the Vice Chancellor. I wish to say a few things this morning on the black graduate in the future of South Africa. I feel greatly honored in being asked by the council of this great university to speak on such an auspicious occasion as this is, and thus to share in today's proceedings. We are brought here by an old and good custom which dates back to medieval Europe, a custom whereby the entrance of a scholar upon a life of service to the community received public recognition. Such a scholar was received into a company of scholars, a republic of letters, a university. His academic qualification was not inquired into. It was sufficient for the new member to show that he was interested in the pursuit of knowledge. In this way, the community accepted the responsibility of making spiritual and intellectual virtues accessible to all its members. The twofold nature of the occasion and progress. We are here as a community primarily to congratulate you and wish you well. Secondly, this occasion signifies your individual achievement. You have worked and waited for this solemn and moving event. Thirdly, this university is granting you the degree you have worked for on behalf of the community. You are sent back to the same world whence you came. The larger community accepts you gladly and with pride because you belong to them, because they too are participating in this ceremony. Indeed, because they have a stake in your graduation. You are so many swallows announcing the summer. Fourthly, it is progress when this university sends you back to the community for a life of service, of usefulness, and of labor. Sacrifices have been made all around. Much is expected of you. You are expected by your community to be everything all at once and to hold some of the keys to many, if not all, their problems. That is the measure of their hopes in you. Change taking place. The first law of life is change. This change covers every aspect of man's life, his ideas, institutions, and conduct. There is not an area of life in which the forces of change are not fiercely, drivingly, and unpredictably at work. Man makes determined efforts to understand the great revolutions in science and technology so that he may control and use these forces to his own purposes. The black men are endeavoring to move ahead with all possible speed with the rest of the world. Change affects the black man. Change affects the black man more than it affects the white man, because the white man is part of the present change. He has developed and is developing means of controlling what he has built up. But the black man finds himself in a situation of which he is not fully a part. He is engulfed by his ideas, methods, and beliefs foreign to him. He has to adjust himself to this strange world. There is so much to adjust and such little time for adjustment. By reason of your education, you can immeasurably do much to heal the scars the black man has suffered in this change and reconstruct his social order so that he may wisely take the shock of this foreign impact on him, and also help others around you to retrieve what is good in our culture which may seem lost. The tree which sheds its leaves in the autumn will turn green again another spring. Need for guidance at this time. The knowledge you now possess and the training you have received should help you to guide our people in their choice amid the multiplicity of alternatives before them in various areas. People with little or no education cannot conceivably have the skills, attitudes, and knowledge to find employment, much less achieve productivity. They cannot even intelligently define their rising expectations beyond the swift satisfaction of their material needs. What the black man will be in the form of their nationhood will depend on their initiative, determination, dedication, and the result of their courageous acceptance or refusal of responsibility placed on them. The people have a special need of the services of your enlightened, disciplined, and balanced minds that can be objective and consider problems without prejudice and reach sound judgment on issues bearing on them. The black people responsible for their future development. De swart man is hoofdzakelijk verantwoordelijk voor zijn toekomstige ontwikkeling. Hij is een belangrijke factor in de proces. Hij is een levende energie en groeiende persoon met de kracht om dit, wat na hem toe komt, te assimileren of weg te wijzen. Wat hij ontvangt, zal hij interpreteren volgens zijn individualiteit en doeleindes. Maar als hierdie interpretatie accuraat, relevant en betekenisvol moet wees, het u kennis, positieve houding, leiding nodig, zodat elke individu gelijk kan worden om zijn deel te doen en niet net een toeschouwer te wees wanneer groot zaken behartigd moet worden. Nie. Zaken kan niet op hulle eie geskied nie. Hulle moet aangehelp word. Elke volk het sy eie in sy eie hande van buite kan help aangebied word, maar uiteindelik moet elke volk homself red. So het de minister nou die dag gesê. There you have it, straight from the shoulder, and it is actually true. Mokete, utuswa uitikang. A needy person is helped if he tries to help himself. Hauna khomo ya boroko. The indolent reaps the fruits of his indolence. These expressions of our people are as true today as they were in the past. If people believe that tomorrow can and indeed should be better than today, then more work and effort must be expended at present than has ever before been the case. The rising hopes must be backed up by meaningful application to work, to effort, and to attitude. Nothing venture, nothing gain. Some tasks ahead. You have multiple burdens on your shoulders, or shall I say opportunities. Firstly, the burden of helping the black people to rise above their immediate surroundings, to introduce a daily ounce of improvement in their immediate environment, to put in new energy to speed up the society's development and inspire inquisitive minds, which weigh choices with eyes open to the future. Secondly, that of being a vital link, their mouthpiece and earpiece with those in authority and control, whoever and wherever they are. Thirdly, that of activating the black people to positive and creative action, and to assure them that they, like you, are standing at the beginning and not at the end of things, however much they may feel so, with new vistas, new horizon, greater dimensions, and challenges ahead. Fourthly, you will need to lead the people on from settled habits which date back many thousands of years and plunge them into the new opportunities and risks of a modern age, wisely and gently with care so that the resistance will not be too great. May I add, wryly, that you have to pay the penalty for having risen above your fellow men. You will encounter criticism as graduates. It is right that it should be so that you may check upon yourselves, upon your motives, upon your actions, and on your failures and successes. But of course, remember that criticisms are never leveled at people who are doing nothing. The tallest trees in the forest are always exposed to buffeting winds. You are all tall trees. Can you expect to escape the severe winds blowing across the Black Forest now? You may not hive off from the people and hibernate. Far too many of us forget that for evil to prosper, it is sufficient for good men to say nothing. Developments in South Africa a test for the black man. Great developments in education, science, health, industry are taking place in many areas and reserves in which the black man lives and works. Developments which compel him to strive to determine his destiny and identity with such help as can be given. This is good for him, a great step forward, and one of the boldest steps taken during the last 2 decades, if not during the whole of the history of our people. Consequently then, our people are put to a severe test as to their readiness to seize the opportunity to prepare themselves for this great challenge and forge ahead in the face of doubts, discouragement, and even ridicule from those who cry stinking fish to undermine the African's morale. It is live fish which swims against the current. Old logs drift downstreams. You are live fish which must swim upstream and take and teach the people to swim against the strong currents with all the risks which that exercise will entail. The people have been provoked as never before into constructive thinking. You are part of the thinking and planning which must blossom into purposeful action and not to so many fruitless worthy arguments. We must stop talking and leave the moaning, the weariness, sharp distress, and the like to Tennyson's lotus eaters. There's no room for such flights in these days. You will have to make the people realize that they cannot now and may not in the future be heard to plead that when opportunity presented itself, they were not ready, or blamed their plight on others, or on their stars, or that they debated instead of getting on with the job when the moment of truth had come. A man of honor has no self-pity, for he has faith in his ability to achieve, and no fears because of the justice of his cause. We have been challenged by circumstances. It is time we challenge the environment by positive thinking, resolution, and creative action. New powers. The people are called upon to exercise new powers under self-rule and where new opportunities present themselves. It is one thing to possess powers and quite another to exercise them judicially. There is an area to which your trained mind must bring stability, growth, and maintenance of order. People are often bewildered by the upheavals through which they have to pass and do not understand the chaos about them. You are expected to restore confidence and sanity amidst uncertainties and false alarms and give needed direction at these crossroads. If the blacks are to be a people with a future, you should teach them to learn to do things for themselves. But first, they must know where the road began. They must have a clear idea of where they are going and by which methods they can achieve what they want. Train them to scan the terrain of tomorrow, strive to see, and a little to measure the summits to be scaled and the chasms to be crossed. Your education alone will not achieve much unless supported by the full cooperation and contribution of all concerned. You may lay down certain guidelines for achieving certain objectives, but it is the people themselves who must work conscientiously towards the attainment of such objectives. No other course and no shortcuts. In this task, you will need to exercise tact and responsible understanding of the weaknesses and possibilities of the people. You will need to be close to them in planning, in thinking, and performance. Preparation and contribution by universities. UNISA has striven to fit you for this task. As we commemorate the centenary of this great university, we gratefully recall its contribution towards the development of the African people in Bantu languages, Bantu law, social anthropology, and in the founding and growth of the 3 black universities. In the same breath, we acknowledge the contribution to our university education made by all the white universities in manpower and otherwise. Professor Rothenbach, former principal of the University of Pretoria, in his wisdom, saw the need for this guidance in his words, met die stadige vordering van die tempo van secundaire onderwijs van de Bantu en gevolgelijk ook universitaire onderwijs van de Bantu, zal ons daarop moeten rekenen dat voor nog jaren vorentoe de witman in Zuid-Afrika een groot percentage van de boonste mannenkracht zal moeten voorzien in Bantu-gebieden, Bantu-thuislanden, Bantu-gemeenschap, zodat hulle ook kan vorderen en kan deel in de welvaart en voorspoed van Zuid-Afrika. We need this guidance and help so that we may help ourselves. At no other time was it more necessary than now. We need each other, white and black, a lesson we must all learn. These contacts at university level must ultimately contribute towards mutual tolerance, reciprocal esteem, respect for group peculiarities, occupation in human causes directed towards human and worthy ends, and harmonious living together in our complex society. These are uncharted paths which you must tread with caution and dignity so that they should stand you in good stead in cooling off the heat generated from radical and racial conflicts in this crude world outside. In this exercise, the universities are making an immeasurable contribution. UNISA commissions you now to do likewise when an opportunity to do so presents itself to you. Some of the pitfalls before you. You may be tempted to minimize the value of your academic course and wonder if it was worthwhile. This is an experience which one faces when one has undergone a long academic course and has attained what one desires. You may be tempted to magnify your achievement and rest on your laurels instead of using your success as an instrument of further progress, realizing that this is not the end of the academic road but the beginning. The vastness of the veiled knowledge will certainly humble you and lead you to discern that wisdom dwells only in the home of the humble. You may be tempted to cut yourselves from the rest of the people or turn your back upon them. How mean a thing is man in that role. That would be a tragic betrayal of their hopes in you. I am persuaded, however, that you will not be tempted to walk up that treacherous path. You may be tempted to advocate what the unthinking crowd demands without your considering the reality such advocacy entails. Take a long look and even a second look at such demands and coercion. I implore you, however, to examine all things with a clear intellectual vision, free from sentiment, except passion for what is good. Then, when you have thought things out, express your views with temperate courage. Sacrifice to be made. Do not ask what I can get from my country, but ask how I can contribute to my people and to my society, is a statement hung up in one of Malawi's Young Pioneer Training Center, a challenging thought. I do not believe that the consideration of financial rewards should be an important factor in the minds of those who hear a clear call to the servants of their fellow man. I know that you must live and live well. I know you are entitled to remuneration that gives you freedom to think, to study, to create, and thus act in the role you must fulfill effectively, the role of a trailblazer for the society in which you live. But having said that, let us face it, sacrifices of one kind or another must be made by you for the quality of spirit echoed in that Malawian SOS. The people are astonishingly ready to make uncomplaining sacrifices so that they may become part of this forward movement. This is a tide of which we must take full advantage. We have been warned before that the creation of new opportunities will call forth corresponding great sacrifices from all. You and I can claim no exemptions. Preparation for tasks ahead. A noted Jewish rabbi of the past taught his students, do not covet positions of great responsibility, but persistently strive to fit yourself for them. And then, if they should come your way, you will be ready to fill them with credit to yourself and to the advantage of your fellow man. Wise advice. Your advice to our people, and youth especially, should indicate that they should select their areas and spheres of work, guided thereto by previous training, by their natural inclination, by the desire to understand the world in which they live. All this must be coupled with intensive training and hard work. We live in a competitive world which requires high standards of performance. Your high education must link you with the heritage of the past and with the life that is reaching out towards the future. It must ally itself to the black people's loyalty to race and group and to the new world into which Western civilization has introduced them. Other qualities. I am not convinced that money, intellect, and training, unaccompanied by other qualities, are going to be the qualities that will carry our people to greatness in the unknown world of the future. Skills can be taught in technical schools and universities. So far, so good. But there are other qualities which neither books nor machines can give to individuals and communities. Imagination, patience, humor, tact, and wisdom are essential in all dealings between man and man. Courage and integrity are indispensable values and virtues to the living of responsible and productive life among temptations and dangers of a fast-paced world and rapidly changing standards of conduct. We cannot omit spiritual concepts and development, even in this tough world, for as it has been said, there is not much value to eyes and ears without the soul behind them. What an array and wealth of qualities you will need to cultivate and bring to the common pool from which the people will draw their strength, resources, and replenish their efforts in building up the nation. Zest, devotion, hard work, and purposeful action. Dare you contribute anything less than these in this exacting world? You are on a long and difficult road. The needs of the people are great. We shall have to step out of any ivory towers we have sought to build around ourselves for our comfort. The pledge. I am a man, says an African initiate as a prelude to his traditional admittance to adult manhood. This was the pledge by which he accepted all the hardships of family life, community, and nation, an undertaking which called forth all the qualities of manly manhood, the stuff of which men are made. You stand in a similar situation now as you join the ranks of academic manhood and gaze towards the ever-widening horizon, that untraveled world whose margin fades forever when I move. To reach it, you require determination, dedication, independent thinking, sacrifice, and sheer grit. You are upon an engagement very demanding and difficult. May you not then, without presumption, say with Walt Whitman, for we cannot tarry here. We must march, my darling. We must bear the brunt of danger. We, the youthful, sinewy race, all the past we leave behind. We debouch upon a newer, mightier world, varied world. Fresh and strong the world we seize, world of labor and the march. May you go from this citadel to see and to serve the vision of our people redeemed and marching on and forward and to make sense of life. If you fail, you hinder all. If you rise to the skies, you shall help to drag the load one step further on the road. Ula, Nala, Koto, Rain, full sport, and freedom. Ambani, mawetu, kunyembeleki. Forward, my people.